G'day folks, Sapper here with another World of Warships video. Welcome to Bluff, or Bottom Line Up Front, a series where I review ships but give you the need to know first thing and the in-depth meat further on. Think of it as a ship review video but with a TLDR and ratings for noobs and skills at the end. Emerald was a brutal introduction to smoke cruiser play but had lessons to teach for those willing to learn. We're now at tier 6, and it can be rough depending on which way the matchmaker winds blow. Does Leander offer a better experience than Emerald? Is she good enough to merit her own port slot? Can she stand tall in 2021? I hope to answer those questions for you, so here is my review of the Tier 6 Royal Navy light cruiser, Leander. The bluff for Leander is that she is a strong and flexible zoning and defense ship, but can be punished by battleships or heavy cruisers at any angle. Leander has great concealment at 9 km, a good consumable kit and respectable gun power, but is limited by her 13.2 km range. When top or middle tier, Leander is a strong ship that can bite and blunt enemy pushes. But like many tier 6 cruisers, when bottom tier, Leander is outclassed and needs to engage in some clever play or for enemies to position poorly for her to have an influence on the battle. The positive side for Tier 6 is that it has a range of scenario options and Leander excels at these. Leander is one of the stronger cruisers at Tier 6 and is worth her own port slot if you are a scenario enthusiast or have one to spare. Before I get into the juicy details, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of my content. When beginning this review process, I had forgotten how much I enjoy playing Leander. Part of the reason is that I've had Perth for a long time, and if given a choice, I'm an Aussie, of course I'm going to play Perth. To top this off, if I want to play a Tier 6 light cruiser with short fuse AP, I also have Mysore and she's a blast as well. But Leander didn't disappoint. If this is your first time with Leander, congratulations and you got here. Don't worry, Leander is much better than Emerald. Leander's hull is a marked improvement over Emerald. She does still have a large citadel area, but it is far more typical of light cruisers at tier. It is above the waterline and is located roughly between the rear of the front superstructure and the third turret. Leander is armed with 13mm plating all over with a particularly large bow section. This means that like Emerald before her, heavy cruiser AP will overmatch her and can reach her citadel at any angle. However, because she doesn't have anything like Emerald's citadel height, she doesn't get deleted anywhere near as much. To balance her vulnerability, Leander has among the best concealment at tier in class with 9 km with full build. This is only edged out by Perth's 8.8 km and Huang Hei's 8.3 km. However, neither of those ships has a heel, Leander does. Leander's great concealment also means her smoke firing penalty is a short 4.6 km with full build. Knowing that is handy, but more on smoke firing further on. Leander's AA is average, with most of it concentrated in the short range, but her strength against planes comes more from her playstyle, centered around smoke, than from an AA rating like Pensacola or Dallas. Leander has 2 quad torpedo launchers, one each side. As with Emerald before her and those after her, she can single or narrow spread fire these torpedoes. The torpedoes have a range of 8 km, respectable damage at just over 15,000, and a reload of 96 seconds. The torpedoes are nice to have and are good at discouraging enemies from pushing into you and or trying to dislodge you from a defensive position. Leander has a pretty normal health pool for a light cruiser at tier with 28,700. Her health pool is amplified by access to heals, which if you stack everything almost doubles her effective health. But this is a bit of a trick. As with Emerald before her, a lot of damage Leander eats can be citadels or full pens. Leander is fairly durable as far as health for a tier 6 light cruiser, but she is still a vulnerable ship thanks to her lack of effective armour. Leander has pretty standard rudder and turning circle for tier with 6.3 seconds for 710 metres. This is with the rudder upgrade, which you should take given that Leander, like the rest of the Royal Navy light cruiser line, has an inbuilt propulsion upgrade. Because of this inbuilt propulsion upgrade, Leander is one of the most nimble Tier 6 cruisers, but sadly she is not an open water cruiser thanks to her range, but more on that later. Leander has access to the same consumable setup as Emerald, and this repeats itself up the line. Leander's heal is the standard 0.5% per second. It's more useful than it was on Emerald, but is still limited by Leander's susceptibility to Citadel and penetration damage. Use it early and often as soon as there is a decent chunk to heal. Leander's Hydro is the standard cruiser variant for tier with 3 km torpedo detection and 4 km ship detection, and works well in conjunction with her smoke. Leander's smoke is the same as Emerald before her and Fiji after her. 15-second emission time, 96-second duration, and 160-second cooldown. Using Hydro and Smoke at the same time to safely deal damage with your guns is core to Leander's gameplay. Leander has 8 152mm guns in twin turrets in an AB-XY configuration. The guns fire short fuse AP, similar to Emerald, and on paper would appear to be worse thanks to slightly reduced penetration angles at 60 degrees, albeit still improved over her peer's standard 45. From there, the AP also has improved ricochet angles from 60 to 75 degrees, whereas most ships with improved pen angles have 60 to 67.5, for example Des Moines. Compared to other light cruisers at Tier 6, Leander has respectable AP DPM metrics, having a little less than Dallas or Boudione, but considering her shells have a short fuse and improved pen angles, her DPM is pretty good. The summary for Leander's guns is that they are nice, but they are limited by their 13.2 km range and inability to start fires. They are amazing against destroyers, good against cruisers, and reliable against most battleships. All in all, Leander is comparable to other light cruisers at tier, but is notable for her consumable kit, short fuse AP, good mobility, and great concealment. In return, she has a more vulnerable armor scheme and shorter range. So how do you play her? Leander builds upon the playstyle that Emerald developed before her. She relies on using smoke to keep her guns active, while her Hydro gives her advanced notice of torpedo threats. Leander predominantly kills enemies by chipping away at their health. Due to that method, her vulnerable armor scheme and her limited range, she is not great at open water gunnery. Leander subsequently plays a focused defensive role centered around terrain and smoke. At times this can be difficult or your position may be risky, so moving to a new position is often required. Thankfully, Leander has excellent concealment and good mobility to assist in doing this safely. Leander can also stealth torp against enemies that are pushing thanks to her 9 km detection and 8 km torpedoes. Doing so as you retreat is always a good idea. Other times the torpedoes are good to make it costly for enemies to approach you. For Leander's AP, your point of aim is the same as Emerald before her. For those who know which enemies have weakly armoured upper belts, aim can shift to the upper belt against those battleships when they are less than 60 degrees angle to you. As a general rule of thumb, you can farm upper belt areas on Tier 7 battleships or higher. This point of aim and rule applies to the rest of the ships in the line. As always, if you are in doubt or if odd things are happening, use the armor viewer and training room to test what is happening to correct it for next time. Basic and intermediate level players will want to focus on island and smoke gameplay and fall back to the next position early enough to stay alive, throwing out torpedoes as appropriate. Where possible, you should always support allied destroyers, as Leander's AP shreds destroyers, and even 1 or 2 shell hits can tilt the exchange in your team's favour. When playing Leander, you will likely begin running into enemies who can accurately blind fire, so ensuring that you are mobile in smoke is key to avoiding this. Doing so in either reverse or a quarter speed is fine. Just keep in mind your smoke boundaries. Keeping mobile in smoke in combination with Hydro will also help you react to torpedoes, as by already moving, your ship will respond quicker. The core playstyle for advanced players doesn't change, but you will want to look for opportunities to engage in open water work, ambushing and even doing destroyer duties at times. Open water work is a risky endeavour, but it is possible with skill. Going dark as the enemy turns her guns to face you is key, as well as maximising your throttle and rudder control to avoid shells when going dark is impossible. Smoke can be used to assist you in this, but you will want to know where you are being spotted from, which is why the radio location skill is so good, but more on that later. Ambushes in Leander are very possible. Ideally, you want your enemy to be engaged elsewhere or unable to bring much firepower onto you. Leander, along with Perth and Huang He, is in a somewhat unique position in the game in that they can effectively function as destroyers at times thanks to their great concealment, smoke consumables, and not as many potential radar enemies as the tiers above them. Sometimes this can be as simple as smoking up and capping. Doing so when there aren't many enemies around is the best idea, as destroyers will not want to take you on without assistance. Leander's notable enemies are any heavy cruisers or battleships whose AP and SAP shells can overmatch her large bow and stern sections. Leander is one of the strongest cruisers at Tier 6 within her defensive and zoning role. Her combination of traits also make her an excellent scenario ship. Thankfully, Tier 6 has a range of scenarios to choose from, and at any time, a Tier 6 scenario is only a week away, thanks to the only option not Tier 6 being Narai at Tier 7. While scenarios may be repetitive for some players, they offer an alternative to PvP gameplay that still has respectable rewards and a variety that co-op lacks. So for those who get frustrated with a stock ship, Tier 6 matchmaking, or just want a break from the stresses of randoms or ranked, you can quite easily finish the grind to Fiji in scenarios. I personally love scenarios, and if they are your thing, Leander is definitely worth keeping just for them. All in all, Leander is a great but balanced ship thanks to clear strengths and weaknesses, and is one of the easiest grinds in the game thanks to mode flexibility. With that said, onto the build. For modules, pick up range module first, as distance is survival and damage potential. Then hull, notably for improving your health by 4200 and rudder shift by 3 seconds. Then pick up your torpedoes upgrade to extend their range from 7 to 8 kilometers. For consumables, Leander has access to heal, hydro, and smoke. She gets 4 of each with Superintendent. For upgrades, pick up main battery 1, engine room protection, aiming systems, and then rudder shift. You can run Hydro upgrade in slot 2 if you wish, which can be worth considering if you plan on keeping her and find yourself relying on it. On her captain skills, Leander has a bit of flexibility. The following is what I currently recommend. First, pick up Last Stand, then Consumables Enhancements. Those who love Priority Target should pick it up here, but personally I'm not a fan. Then Superintendent and Concealment Expert for 10 points. After that, pick up Radio Location for 14, because knowing where the enemy that's spotting you or approaching you is crucial. Then Adrenaline Rush for 17, Grease the Gears for 18, and Survivability Expert for 21. If you wish to go an AA build for higher tiers, pick up Expert AA as your second skill and AA Gunner for your last 4 points. If you do choose to go this route, it can be worth picking up Grease the Gears instead of Last Stand, as with the exception of Minotaur at Tier 10, a little bit of extra turret traverse is nice to have on most ships in the line. For captains, the Dunkirk brothers are a great fit thanks to buffed Grease the Gears and consumables skills. Cunningham is a very poor choice as his buffs align better with the HE focused lines, such as battleships, heavy cruisers, or even destroyers. The full bottom line is that Leander is a strong but balanced ship thanks to a nice range of contrasting strengths and weaknesses. Leander can be flexible enough if played cleverly thanks to her good concealment, and some captains will be able to play her similar to a destroyer at times. But Leander's best work is done supporting other ships from the safety of smoke or terrain. Leander is one of the stronger cruisers at Tier 6 and is a solid addition to any player's port, particularly for those who have an enthusiasm for scenarios. So how does Leander compare for noobs or skills? Leander gains points compared to her peers for concealment, utility tools, and damage output. She loses points on gun range and armor scheme. Leander is a good all-round ship that is primarily limited by her gun range and somewhat by her armor scheme. So for the scores. Noobometer, 7 out of 10. Basic level players will find Leander tricky to play at times because of her range and armor scheme, but if they can learn to effectively use her smoke, they will find a strong ship with a lot of potential and room for player improvement. Skillometer, 7 out of 10. Advanced level players will be able to work with Liander's good concealment and consumables to decide the outcome of many battles. However, at times Liander's weak armor scheme limits her carry potential. My recommendation is to play scenarios to unlock Liander's range module, then play all the way through her modules in the game mode of your choice. I love Liander, however I found her a little on the static side compared to premiums such as Perth or Mysore, and as such I find both of those easier to influence battles with, although this could be due to their relative ranges. Interestingly, I had forgotten just how fun Liander can be in scenarios. She really is a great ship for ops. Next up for Bluff is Fiji. Can famous Fiji measure up to her fearsome reputation, or has time and power creep finally caught up on her? We'll find out next time in Bottom Line Up Front. If you liked this review, please give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you didn't like this review or think I missed something, please comment to let me know. If you want to discuss Liander, Royal Navy light cruisers, or upcoming videos, please join my Discord Dark Lab, link will be down in the comments. We have some cool tools in there as well, including the amazing minimap renderer by Not Your Father, as well as a great group of players of all skill levels that are happy to help in any way they can. Thanks for watching, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.